We're here today at Imperial College London, Hammersmith Hospital, to see Professor Nichola Cooper and have a tour of her research lab, a wonderful research lab that is doing so much to advance ITP research in the UK and around the world. We're here today. Thank you, Professor Nichola Cooper, for inviting us here to your research lab at Hammersmith Hospital, Imperial College. Can you just give us a background to, what actually goes on here with all the research you're doing into ITP related subjects as well?
Yeah, really happy to. So we have quite a broad research program. So starting off with the clinical research team who run clinical trials, and we do immune modulating agents such as ianalumab, rilzabrutinib, fostamatinib, and the clinical trials that we've run there have led to the licensing of new treatments. So real change in practice for patients. In the clinical trial part, we also do observational studies such as the microbiome. So Camelia Bladuska has just been awarded a PhD to look at the microbiome in ITP, which is super exciting. Does this cause ITP? Does it contribute to ITP? Can we change how ITP is just by treating that? And then from the trials, we also take blood, we take serum from patients, we can send them to it. Obviously, patients, it's optional for people, but as part of our routine clinical practice, we offer people to get involved in all sorts of research. And some of the blood work we do comes over here and gets processed behind me by the research team. And we've got a number of different projects we're looking at. Mostly it's about trying to decide what type of ITP someone has and see if we can develop biomarkers to better manage treatment. So at the moment, people cycle through multiple different treatments. We don't know which treatment someone's going to respond to. And so can we better understand that? And the kind of techniques we use, one is DNA. So we look to see if there's any genetic pathways that contribute to ITP or different types of ITP. Perhaps they'll help us to direct treatment. And then the second project we're looking at is seeing the type of immune cells that people have. So broadly speaking, there's B cells and T cells are part of your immune system that help you fight infections. And what we want to know is, do some people have a B cell disease and do others have a T cell type disease? Can we distinguish that by some of the work we're doing in the lab, looking at surface markers of these immune cells and using very cool techniques called deep sequencing of the T cell receptor. So in each individual T cell has a T cell receptor that T cell might be marked against a flu virus or COVID virus or something like that, and perhaps that goes wrong and attacks a platelet instead. So what we can now do is identify individual T cell clones that expand when the platelet count goes down. So we're using those to see if we can identify different types of ITP that might respond better to all of the different sort of treatments that we have. So leading that back then into the clinical trial, so we can say, well, actually, perhaps we should use this treatment instead for these people. And I think that's what people want to know, really, is why do they have the disease? What kind of disease they have? What treatment should they have? Because still in the clinic, I still don't know what treatment to give people, which, given that I've been running this clinic for 16 years, I can't believe I still don't know which treatment to use. And then the final piece of research we're doing is cognitive function, trying to work out why people have brain fog. Why are they feeling tired? And can we correlate that with some of the work we're doing here in the lab or with MRI brain scans and things? So that's a kind of brief shot of some of the research we're doing.
The brain fog issue comes up all the time, talking to patients, etc.
Yeah, I think that's really poorly understood, isn't it? Yeah. And we've shown cognitive impairment in some of our patients with ITP. We don't know why they have it. And we're trying to see if we can correlate that with the markers we have here to see if we can see, are there particular parts of ITP, again, that we can treat so that we treat the brain fog, the tiredness, rather than just the platelet count as well.
Given the advance in treatment options over the last 10, 15, 20 years, and, it has come on leaps and bounds, to be perfectly honest. Looking further ahead, you mentioned biomarkers, etc., and DNA. Is there a hope that further down the track you may be able to tailor treatment to a particular person?
That's what we would really like to be able to do. In fact, the other part of research that it didn't also include is also looking at the platelets. What do the platelets do themselves? Are there different types of platelets in ITP, and did they make the disease worse or not? So that's exactly where we would like to get to. It's a lot of work, and even the kind of work we're doing is hard, actually trying to pull out the research that we're doing and saying what type of disease someone has. It's really tough. And we're really thankful to all the patients who contribute to that. They give extra blood when they see us in clinic, and they sign lots of consent forms and things like that. So we can't do that without patients. And hopefully we'll be able to, at some point, bring that back to the clinic and say, this is what treatment's right for you. So that's the holy grail that we're looking for, really, especially with things like cellular therapy, CAR-T and things coming through. That's a big deal for people. But if we can cure people and we know which people to use it in, that may be worth it. So that's the kind of ultimate aim, trying to get rid of the disease and how we do that.
I'm always amazed at the number of people who willingly step forward to take part in clinical trials. At your clinic, do you make it a process to actually ask people if they would like to take part? Because I know some clinics around the country don't ask that question, which is unfortunate.
That's so important. And I also think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people who are very altruistic and really want to be part of clinical trials. That's a really critical part of clinical trials, that we're not promising the world, we're not promising that we know whether this is going to work for you. So you have to be interested in being part of that process to see, does this drug work in ITP? And hopefully it will work for you and you'll get better. But it's also a lot of time commitment. But it's really important you offer people that. And certainly, really happy to explore how we can make that happen across the country so people can really access clinical trials. Because what we want is people happy to be in trials, to do it properly, to really be able to see if that drug works. It shouldn't be the last very thing for people, but just actually you want to try and you'll want to be part of it. And we're lucky here at Imperial because we have medical students, we have master students, we have PhD students who are on our clinical trials. So, they understand what that means to do research. So, and I think it can be scary for people. A trial, can feel like, I only want to have the drug that everyone we know works, but actually we wouldn't have fostamatinib, we wouldn't have eltrombopag, romoplostim, avatrombopag. They've all gone through clinical trials. So we really are reliant on people to want to participate in trials, to give access to everyone for it. And if it works for you, you're going to get it before it's available on the NHS for 3 or 4 years as well. So there are two different ways of thinking about it. So it's access to a drug that won't be around for a long time, but also just being interested in being part of it, I think.
We've had the advancement with TPO-RAs in recent years. What's the next big thing coming forward? Is it, combination therapies, or is there something else coming down the track?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think combination therapy, but I think also tailoring treatment. So there's a lot of new immune modulators. So for a long time, everyone was a bit scared of immunosuppressive treatments, particularly during COVID and things like that. But it's really clear that for some ITP, it's an immune-mediated process. We have to stop that autoimmunity. But I think what we need to know is whether that contributes to the brain fog and the tiredness. And for some people, maybe you do really need immune modulation. Which type? I think, we need to find out. So ianalumab reached its primary endpoint for secondary ITP, and that's a particular BAFF receptor attacking different types of B cells. We have clinical trials for anti-CD38, we have CAR-T for CD19. They're targeting different parts of the immune system. And then there's fostamatinib, rilzabrutinib, you're targeting BTK and SYK pathways. So there's many different ways we can target ITP, but how do you know which one to use? And I think that's the next big thing, is just trying to work out this biomarker. Can you decide what type of disease someone has?
Okay. Well, I think for me, Nikki, thank you very much. And thank you for being part of the ITP Support Association as well, being on their board of trustees and medical advisor as well. Everyone around the country respects that, and thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for allowing this visit today as well.